understanding the key pieces of mobile app development. Your presenter for today is Mr. David Brault. Dave is LANSA's product manager and has over 20 years of IBMI experience, including extensive involvement integrating IBMI applications with various Windows, web, and mobile technologies. Before I turn the call over to Dave, there are a couple of things to note. The GoToWebinar attendee control panel is located in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you have any problems during the presentation, you can get my attention by clicking here to raise your hand. Or if you want to ask a question anytime during the presentation, use the question and answer section to do so. All product-related questions will be answered at the end of the presentation by Dave, and I will take care of everything else in real time. Also, I'll broadcast a message that contains a dial-in number and passcode shortly after the session begins, just in case you need to switch over from mic and speakers to the telephone. Last but not least, all attendees that participate through the entire presentation will find out how they can get a free LANSA USB hub as a thank you for attending today's webinar. At this time, I would like to turn the call over to Dave Brault. Dave, you may begin.
Thanks, Ellie, and welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. I always like kicking off a session with a quote that ties into the subject at hand. And today I'm going to quote a lyric from a U2 song, and the lyric reads, "Every generation gets a chance to change the world." So if you're wondering, well, how does this relate to mobile? I just want everybody to take a moment to think about how the essence of a computer program really hasn't changed over the decades. Programs receive an input and they respond with an output. What has changed, though, over the years is how each generation interacts with these programs. And today's generation, well, they expect a mobile interface. Now, that said, it's up to us, the folks in IT, to be able to react, to have an answer, and provide some sort of solution for this new mobile paradigm. Now, unfortunately, too many IBMI companies out there are singing the Beatles song, "Nothing's going to change my world," while this whole mobile revolution is going around them. It's pretty unfortunate because building mobile applications, this is our chance to make the IBMI appear modern again and to use the IBMI as a source of innovation and competitive advantage and to stop being categorized, as that old legacy system. Moving on, at least in terms of what we're going to cover today, the presentation will be split into 3 different topics. First, we're going to discuss 3 mobile concepts that we all need to understand as part of our overall mobile strategy. Then we're going to take a look at the 3 most current trends in terms of mobile development. And last but not least, we'll walk through 3 mobile takeaways that you can immediately apply to your mobile projects. So the 3 mobile concepts we'll examine today are essentially different ways in which we can view the significance or the impact that a mobile application will play on the overall fabric of your application stack. And the 3 concepts are what we call Mobile 2, Mobile Better, and Mobile Best. So starting off with the concept of Mobile 2, what it is in a nutshell, it refers to reproducing portions of either desktop websites or some of your back office applications and making those available on mobile devices. Example, let's use Target to illustrate our point here. So here we have the desktop browser version of Target's consumer website, and here is their mobile equivalent. So using the Mobile 2 concept, Target has taken portions of their desktop website and made it available on mobile devices. Now, they haven't added any new capabilities. They've actually slimmed down the content, but more importantly, they've optimized the interface for mobile consumption. Now, Target, like a lot of other companies, that you're not going to port your whole website to mobile. Instead, what you want to do is you want to select the parts that are relevant to mobile users and, again, make that available, things like time-sensitive activities, for example. Again, the same holds true for those of us in IT who need to push out ERP data out to these mobile devices. We're not going to replicate everything in our ERP. What we're going to do is we're going to mobilize portions or slivers of our ERP that are applicable to different sets of mobile users. Now, the second concept is called Mobile Better. And just like with Mobile 2, portions of your desktop websites, your back office applications are made available on mobile devices, but the difference is between the two concepts is that the mobile better version is, well, better. It's easier to use than the desktop or the back office version. So how is that possible, you might ask? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage capabilities of the mobile device to make the interface better. So when we start using and utilizing features like GPS location services, barcode scanning, signature capture, push notification, annotations, taking photos, recording audio, integrating with Bluetooth connected devices, etc., this is what enables the mobile applications to have a far better user experience than the desktop equivalent. Example, let's take a look at Best Buy. Here we see two different versions of their mobile offerings. We have their mobile-friendly website on the left-hand side and their native mobile application on the right. So at first glance, both applications, well, they look very similar. But if you take a look right here, you'll see that the native application allows for customers to look up products just by scanning a barcode. So how is this better? Well, imagine you borrowed a friend's DVD, if people buy DVDs anymore. I might be dating myself with this, but imagine you borrowed a friend's DVD and you're about to return it to that person. As you walk up to your friend's door, the disc falls out of the case and it shatters when it hits the ground. So using the native application on the right, we can simply scan the barcode located on the back of the DVD case, and we're instantly presented with the price and the location of the store, the closest store that has that movie in stock. Now again, you can't do that with the mobile web application, and thus the difference between mobile 2 and mobile better. Moving on to the last concept, which is again called mobile best. Now the best way to describe mobile best is that there will be scenarios as we start to develop new enterprise applications where a mobile application is going to be the best interface for a given business process. So much so that the mobile interface will be the only interface for a given process. So with mobile best, really the concept here is quite common when companies start to do things like eliminating paper-based processes or streamlining some manual business processes. In these scenarios, the mobile application ends up being the only app written, as there's no need for a desktop browser version or some sort of back office equivalent. Now, there is a common thread across all three concepts, a guiding set of principles, if you will, that we must adhere to if we want our mobile applications to be well received by our users. First, we need to fully understand that, what is the user's goal for each application? Why are they using the app? In what context are they arriving at the app? And how can we help them best accomplish their goal? Second, we need to constantly remind ourselves that the mindset of a mobile user is very different than that of a desktop user. Mobile users don't want to browse. They want to find. Just think back to that Best Buy example, right? Mobile users want to locate information as quickly as possible. And last but not least, build a useful application. Now, this may sound obvious, but people and companies and IT staff, they get so caught up in the aesthetics that sometimes functionality takes a back seat to style. So what we need to focus on is identifying the primary task for the user and making sure that they can accomplish that task quickly and easily. Again, remember, sometimes less is more. Now, moving on to the trends part of the presentation, let's examine the differences between the three types of mobile apps and explore how they relate to the three concepts that we just discussed. So as you can see here, there's a sliding scale of benefits, the user experience, and trade-offs, the cost and time to market, as you move across the different types of mobile applications. So let's just start off with mobile websites. That's the blue circle. These have the lowest user experience of the bunch because they tend to be the sites that haven't taken any steps towards mobile optimization. I'm sure you've seen these sites before. These are the sites where we have to pinch and zoom and we're scrolling all over the place in order to see all the content. Next, in the orange circle, we have mobile web apps, and they have a better user experience because they have been optimized to run inside of a mobile browser. Next up, we have actually we're going to go all the way to the right, to the green circle. We have native applications. Native applications have by far the best user experience because of their performance and their pure integration with mobile device features. But as you can see, native applications take substantially more time and more money to deliver. Now, nudged right in the middle between mobile web and native applications, we have something called hybrid applications, which in a nutshell is a native app container or shell that allows us to run mobile web apps inside of it. So if you want to think of it as a green circle application where you're actually running orange circle programs inside of it. Why? Well, this architecture enables HTML5-based applications to now finally have access to device features where when they're normally running inside the browser, they can never access, mainly for security and especially on iOS devices. Now, a lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people discount the importance of the user experience, but a recent study reveals that users will not recommend a business with a poorly designed mobile application, and often they'll turn to a competitor's app after a bad mobile experience. So we can't underestimate the importance of delivering a great user experience for our mobile applications, for our mobile users. Now, because of this statistic, I'm actually going to wipe off the mobile websites completely off the page, because if you really want to make a difference to your users and your organization, then you really need to build some sort of mobile app, be it a mobile web, a hybrid, or a native application. Now, in terms of how these applications relate to the three concepts we just discussed, I've labeled them accordingly. Now, obviously, there's going to be some gray area here, but generally speaking, when developers are looking for a Mobile 2 style application, they're going to build a mobile web app. When they're looking for mobile better, they'll build a hybrid, and when they want mobile best, they tend to build native. Again, as I mentioned, there is some cross-pollination here, but in general terms, this is usually how things fall into place. All right, so we've explored some mobile concepts and some trends in mobile development. Next, let's see where LANSA comes into the picture. So LANSA has been in the mobile game for a long time. I don't think people realize we've been doing this for, boy, over a decade now. My guess as to why they don't remember is because of this. Back when we started doing mobile applications, it was still called wireless. As you can see here from one of our wireless marketing campaigns, I think this was from back in 2001. So going back to our scale of benefits and trade-off slide, so LANSA is the only IBM tools vendor that has offerings for all three types of mobile applications. So we have Axes Mobile and Visual LANSA if you would like to build mobile web apps or Mobile 2 style applications. So again, these are mobile apps where the screens fit properly on the device and can take advantage of technologies like jQuery, for example, to provide a really good looking interface for the mobile experience. Axes Mobile, what's the difference between Axes Mobile and Visual LANSA is that Axes Mobile allows any 5250 screens to be instantly rendered in a mobile browser using jQuery, fitting properly onto the screen, regardless of the language it was written in. Again, Visual LANSA, on the other hand, allows developers to use LANSA's 4GL language to create brand new mobile applications, probably much faster than you could ever do writing an RPG. Now, the same two products also have offerings for hybrid, so if you want to build hybrid versions of these applications, and what that allows you to do is we have a native container that will host these applications, and now you have access to native device features like the GPS information, the camera, Bluetooth connected devices, et cetera, et cetera. If you're interested in building native mobile applications, LANSA has two versions of its long-range product, one for LANSA developers and one for RPG and COBOL developers. Now, the great thing about the long-range technology is that the way that it's architected, it allows developers to build native mobile applications even faster than you could build a mobile web app. So you're getting the best possible user experience, but you're building it quite quickly. Long-range applications run natively on Apple and Android from a single code base. But by the end of the year, long-range will support Windows Mobile, which means companies will be able to choose between 3 different mobile platforms from the same set of RPG, COBOL, or LANSA source code. So next up, let's take a look at some of the mobile apps that our customers have built using some of these LANSA technologies that I just mentioned. So kicking off with mobile web, or Mobile 2, the first company is called Varsity, and they supply clothing and branded merchandise to cheerleading teams at schools all across the United States. Their first app was to build a mobile inventory lookup application that provided their sales team with real-time inventory levels and amounts on order. So Varsity used Axis Mobile to build this Mobile 2 style of application by instantly rendering their current 5250 screens to a mobile browser. The application, I believe, runs on about 500 of their sales reps' iPhones nationwide. The second mobile web example is from a company named Metropolitan Associates. Metropolitan Associates used LANSA's tools to create both their desktop and their mobile websites. So from their mobile device, potential renters can view property information. They can look at floor plans, review pricing, even fill out an application right on their mobile device. Existing renters, they can actually log on to the application to make payments, file a work order if their stove or refrigerator stopped working, et cetera, et cetera. So the mobile web apps use what we call a responsive design so that they're laid out properly on the screen and they're optimized for finger touches and swipes. Now moving on to hybrid applications, Beacon Insurance, they are a general life, auto, and health insurance company, and they decided to take their HTML5 mobile applications to the next level by going hybrid. So they wanted to go to this mobile better route and again, make the mobile user experience even better than what they could have on the desktop browser or even their old mobile web version. So the hybrid application, again, it did a lot of things that the desktop browser and the mobile web version could do. You could look up your policy information, you could make a payment, you could file a claim, et cetera, et cetera. Now that said, because this new version is a hybrid, it could take advantage of device features to make the mobile experience even better. So for example, let's say one of their customers got in an accident. What they could do now is they could take photos of the damage of their car, take photos of the accident scene, take photos of the other driver's insurance information, et cetera, et cetera. So this was simply not possible on the desktop version. Also, the hybrid application took advantage of GPS information and used the customer's current coordinates from when they launched the claim to dispatch a tow truck to the accident scene for the customer automatically on their behalf. So again, taking advantage of device features makes the mobile experience even better than that of the desktop version. Also, Beacon, another thing Beacon needed to do was to distribute their application on 3 different app stores: Apple's App Store for iOS devices, Google Play for Android devices, and BlackBerry World for BlackBerry devices. Now, because of LANSA's experience in getting hybrid and native applications distributed through many different types of App Store mechanisms, this was actually quite an easy task for them. Another example of a hybrid application is from one of our customers who's a leading North American processor and marketer of prepared value-added frozen seafood. Their hybrid application is a highly visual sales enablement application. So sales reps can access product information, customer sales data, even create orders while they're on the road. A couple things that were important to them were things like offline support, and they actually had a sophisticated authentication engine that were requirements to make this project that had to be in the project before it could go live. And once they rolled it out, the sales force was extremely satisfied with the application, making the adoption rate very, very high. Moving on to some native application examples. Kawasaki Manufacturing, they're located in Lincoln, Nebraska. This is the division that manufactures all the ATVs, jet skis, and utility vehicles for all of North America. So if you own a jet ski or a Kawasaki jet ski or ATV or utility vehicle, it was manufactured at this plant. Now their challenge, like many other manufacturing companies out there, was to improve processes down on the assembly line, and in particular the parts replenishment process for those people putting together their ATVs and jet skis, etc., on the assembly line. So Kawasaki used long range to build a set of native mobile apps for their workers right down on the shop floor. So all of them fully integrated with their inventory and replenishment systems. So the application, what it did, it actually replaced a very paper-based procedure and is now the only interface for this process. So there's no desktop browser version, there's no back office equivalent, categorizing it as a mobile best style of application. So again, Kawasaki just armed all their production floor staff with iPads and iPad touches, as well as their inventory specialists, loaded with this custom-built mobile application and actually has a Bluetooth-connected barcode scanner. And the workers now just electronically notify when inventories get low just by walking up and down the assembly line, barcode scanning inventory levels right there in real time. The application was wildly successful, saving them over $3,500 per day in labor costs. So the application was also so successful it caught the eye of IBM and Common, and IBM awarded Kawasaki the Innovation Award at Common in 2013. Another example of a mobile application is from one of our large manufacturers of commercial roofs and roofing systems. They built a native app they have a network of certified partners that perform all their warranty work, repair work for them. So they don't really have W-2 employees that do warranty repair work. They have a network of certified partners. So they wanted to create a mobile application for this network of partners. I've actually have some screenshots of the application. So what happens is the contractor, they log into the application, they select a warranty repair job from the list of available jobs to choose from, and it opens up the job for review. Now some of the cool native features are things like route generation and driving instructions on how to get to the location, the ability to take before and after photos of the repair work. Now, not only can contractors take photos, but they can also annotate the images by drawing on them using their finger directly on the screen. As you can see here, they used a couple of arrows to highlight where the leaks were in the ceiling. Let's see. Contractors can also you have to excuse me, and I apologize for my third grade level artistic skills here. But another cool feature that the application needed to do. It's funny, every time we do or we help companies with these mobile apps, there's always one feature that we had no clue this was going to be important to them. And this is one of them. But what contractors would do is they would walk around with graph paper, pads of graph paper and pencils, and they're constantly sketching out, drawing things to say, here's what I'm about to work on. Here's some other things some other issues that I think could be a problem in the future. So they wanted the application to be able to mimic that, so they wouldn't have to carry around these pads of paper, because when they would send them these sketches, they would get lost. When they'd fax it over, you couldn't really see what they drew. They wanted it to be integrated into the application. So what this allowed them to do was eliminate bringing graph paper and pencils to the job and do it right here on the screen. Just using their finger, they can now sketch away on a piece of graph paper right inside the application. Contractors also could add notes to the work order. They allowed the customer to review all the warranty repair information before they signed off. And finally, as I just mentioned, they could have the customer sign off by using their finger right on the pad and sign off on the completed work. Now, just like with Kawasaki, this application replaced a very paper and fax-based process, and this application is now the only interface for this process, thus making a mobile best style application. Now, as I mentioned up front, we were going to explore 3 takeaways that you'd be able to use for your future mobile projects. The 3 takeaways revolve around defining a business case, identifying mobile use cases, and lastly, just deciding on a technology. So the first takeaway from today's session, as I mentioned before, is defining a business case for mobile and being able to provide an answer for when upper management asks why. Why do we need to go mobile? Without any sort of perceived business value and any kind of return on your investment, it's going to be hard to get budget and resources for a mobile project, just like any other IT project for that matter. You need to be able to determine what's the ROI going to be if we decide to write a mobile application. How do we do that? Start by examining some of the inefficiencies within your organization. Are there areas where mobile can eliminate paper-based processes? What about automating a manual process or streamlining a lengthy process? Could mobile correct errors that negatively affect the company's profitability and bottom line? Let's take a different angle. Maybe mobile can provide a competitive advantage, or maybe a mobile application could open up a new revenue stream. These are the types of questions you need to ask, right? You really need to examine your internal operations and determine how will a mobile solution help, and that's when you can finally establish what the ROI would be for the project. Now, once you've identified and successfully answered why mobile is a good fit, the next step is tackling the question of what, by identifying mobile use cases. Questions that need answering are, what is the desired end user features and functions required for the application? Will this project be a mobile 2, a mobile better, or a mobile best? Again, remember, each mobile project will be different, and chances are in your overall project scope of all the mobile projects coming up in the future, chances are you will most likely engage with all three concepts as part of your overall mobile strategy. So now, the next step we're going to talk about here can be difficult for a lot of us in IT. Why? Because more than ever, we need to gather feedback from our users, and here's the difficult part, here's the rub. We need to truly value their input when it comes to mobile. Why? Because mobile is much different than many other previous projects. This could be the first time in the history of IT where end users are as comfortable with an emerging new technology as their IT department is. What we have to remember is that innovation starts with problems, and end users deal with problems and inefficiencies of our business on a daily basis. So go to them. They know where the problems lie. We also need to be proactive. We need to start talking not only with our peers, but talk with other employees in various departments. Speak with your customers and your partners and ask them, how could a mobile app make your job easier? How could a mobile app make you more productive? How could it cut costs? Believe me, they'll know. They have to deal with it every single day. Another thing to remember is that there's no such thing as a bad idea or a stupid question when it comes to flushing out the specs on a mobile application, because that's where the magic hides. The more that users can feel like they can put any idea out there, put anything on the table without fear of being ridiculed or made fun of, that's where and when we find magic. Now, once you're armed with this information, then you can better plan for what your mobile applications need to do, and then move on to the third takeaway, which is deciding on technology. Now, as I mentioned before, every mobile project is going to be different, and chances are your mobile strategy will have to account for all three types of mobile applications: mobile web, hybrid, and native. The good news about this particular step is that the answers, the technology answers, are a natural fallout from the previous takeaways. So if you've spent quality time in the previous two takeaways, you're going to know if you need to build a mobile web or a native application or a hybrid application, which mobile platforms you need to support, what form factors you need to support, et cetera, et cetera. And last but not least, in terms of choosing a technology, this is extremely important. You must remain focused on the important and not the urgent. Why? It's only human nature to want to take the easy way out. So don't be tempted to switch tactics at this particular stage of the game when all of your research says to stay the course. Just because deadlines got moved or something happened, don't be tempted to switch at this point in time. You have to stay focused on what's important, not on what is urgent. So in review, what did we talk about today? So we learned about three mobile concepts, and we discovered the differences between mobile 2, mobile next, and mobile best type of applications. We also discussed the three main application development trends and reviewed the anatomy of mobile web versus hybrid versus native applications. And last, we finished up with three takeaways that you can use on a project-by-project basis. Define your business case, identify mobile use cases, and select the appropriate technology. What we also learned was how LANSA's suite of development products, again, is the only IBM tools vendor to offer solutions for all three different categories. And also how LANSA's long-range product allows developers to build native mobile applications much quicker than even mobile web apps, and definitely quicker than hybrid applications. Now, one thing we didn't spend a lot of time on today is LANSA's mobility practice. For over 2 decades, LANSA's professional services has delivered thousands of software projects for IBM I users worldwide, building and deploying mobile applications since the early 2000s. Our team of mobile developers are trained in multiple technologies, multiple mobile technologies, not just LANSA technology. Our consultants will help you establish a methodology that ensures your project gets delivered on time and on budget, again, to help you maximize the value of this investment. Now, besides bringing just decades of enterprise experience to the table, LANSA's professional services also provides some established leadership to help you deliver, again, world-class applications. We've been doing this for our customers across the globe for many, many years. The last topic of today is LANSA's free mobile assessment. Any company on today's call that is about to embark on a mobile project, or maybe you've already started but you need a little bit of help, I implore you to take advantage of LANSA's free mobile assessments. This is an opportunity to sit down with one of our mobility experts to assess your needs and options, figure out where you are now, and calculate what needs to happen in order for you to get to where you want to be. And again, and since our development tools can build mobile web, hybrid, and native applications, we can provide you with unbiased advice. We don't need to force you down one particular path because of limitations in our software. We can give you unbiased advice on which is the best type of application to build, mobile web versus hybrid versus native for each particular scenario. And remember, this is, again, so important. There's really no such thing as a bad idea or a stupid question during these free mobility assessments. As I mentioned before, in these discovery sessions of asking, is this possible, this is where innovation hangs out. And the more you share, the more innovation we can uncover. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for attending today's session. I hope you found value in today's presentation and that everybody takes advantage of the free mobility assessment. All right, Allie, I'm going to pass control back to you.
All right, thanks, Dave. At this point, we'll move on to the question and answer session. If you have any questions, please type them into the questions window of the attendee control panel. If you don't feel comfortable asking a question in this type of forum, I put my contact information up on the screen. Just email me your question at info@lansa.com or call me at 630-874-7045. You can use the same contact information if you'd like to take advantage of LANSA's free mobile assessment. Just go ahead and call or send that email. I've also put a URL on the screen for those who'd like to learn more about LANSA's suite of mobile products. Check out www.lansa.com/mobile. One last item before we open it up for Q&A. When you leave today, a meeting survey will pop up that contains 7 questions. If you have any pop-up blockers on, make sure to turn them off or temporarily allow the window to appear so that you may complete the survey. We really value your feedback and appreciate you taking the time to fill out the survey. Attendees from North America, if you fill out the survey, we will mail you a free USB hub. Compliments of LANSA for participating in today's webinar. For those of you outside of North America, LANSA representatives from your region will be in touch. Dave, I'm going to pass it back to you for our questions.
Excellent. All right, so I'm just going to open up the questions panel here. As I go through, I'm just going to answer the questions in the order that they appear. Honestly, if I do a poor job of answering your question, don't be afraid to call me out on it. I will definitely try to re-answer, take a second chance and answer it to your satisfaction, okay? So the first question here is from Tatiana. Can LANSA framework be used for building native BlackBerry applications? It depends. You saw the case study from who was Beacon Insurance. That was an example of building a hybrid application that ran on BlackBerry. So right now, LANSA's hybrid supports Apple and Android and soon Windows. It doesn't support BlackBerry. So in that situation, what we do is we partnered with a technology called PhoneGap. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but we built the applications and just plugged it into the PhoneGap framework to allow it to be applied to BlackBerry, and then obviously be able to put onto the BlackBerry App Store. The other 2 versions, we just use LANSA's hybrid framework to get them up onto Apple and Android because of the better integration with your applications and the devices and getting it up onto the App Store. So that answers that question. The other questions we got here, I got a couple more. One person wants to know, how do you get your apps approved by Apple? Okay. Oh, that's an excellent question. So really the answer is LANSA's pretty much taking care of this process already. So I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with the Apple App Store approval process, but it's not fun. They have the option of saying, no, we don't think your app is a good fit for our ecosystem, and they could actually deny your application. So that's something that's always, in the back of people's minds. So we've taken care of that stress for you in the sense that our native and our hybrid applications have already been approved by both Apple and Google. Once we have the Windows version available, we'll take care of that for the Windows App Store as well. All you need to do is code up your apps in RPG or COBOL or LANSA and tie it to the application, and essentially we've taken care of the rest for you. And as I mentioned before, with hybrid applications, so here's one downfall that we found with hybrid applications versus native being on an app store, mainly for iOS. What we found, there's rumblings out there from the hybrid community that they feel they're being unfairly targeted by Apple. Apple's very particular about apps appearing in their ecosystem. They want it to have a true native experience. And there's actually language right in their contract when you upload saying, if we feel that this is too much like a mobile web application, just wrappered inside of a hybrid container just to get it up to the App Store, we're going to deny it. You have to put some functionality in. And you have to make it behave like a native application, not just like a mobile web application wrappered in a hybrid container. So that's one additional consideration people have to worry about when you start thinking about, do I go hybrid or native if I have to be up on an app store. But again, with LANSA, when you build our applications, you can take advantage of all the cool native device features, GPS, barcode scanning, signature capture, all that kind of cool stuff. And when Apple sees that inside the application, they say, okay, they've taken the effort to make this feel like a native application, and we've never had a hybrid application denied. Just something to consider if you're thinking about if you have to have an app store presence and you're contemplating between going hybrid or going native. Got a question here. How secure are your mobile applications? Security has always been pretty much a core design consideration for LANSA because we know you're going to have to protect your data and your business applications when you're pushing information out to your remote users on these mobile devices. So LANSA has a whole bunch of different physical implementations, including things like reverse proxy, which really provide different levels of scalability and performance without compromising security. So for example, long range supports IBMI security and authentication mechanisms up to and including the highest security level of 50. All the user IDs and passwords are encrypted before transmission, and they're never cached within the application. IT departments can actually restrict access to long-range applications by limiting which users can run the app. You can literally lock down the application by specific IP address or device names. Long range also supports things like SSL and TLS. SSL is secure socket layer, TLS is transport layer security. These are the protocols that allow for secure authentication, encryption, non-repudiation, VPN technologies. And really it's critical since both SSL and VPN are pretty prevalent to help keep eavesdroppers out from listening in and intercepting any kind of traffic between the device and your IBMI server. Got another question here from Tatiana. Are all enterprise level applications distributed using app stores, or do you have other distribution models? Each platform, Apple, Android, for example, the two major ones, have different ways of distributing applications without going through an app store. Android is super easy. It's basically just I forget what the extension is. It's PCK or PKG extension for the application. You can literally just email somebody the program. They double click on it from their browser or their email on that actual Android client, and it'll just install and run. Apple has something similar, but they really lock it down to a business account, and you can have, I think it's 100 devices you can deploy just mainly for testing, or if you have a small amount of users, you can deploy without going through the App Store. There's a unique ID on each of the iOS devices. You basically get all those IDs, and it gets compiled into the into the application. It only allows those devices to use it if it was not downloaded via an app store process. So there are ways of deploying without going through app stores. Another way is obviously just building a mobile web application. If you don't want to go through an app store, you can build a nicely designed mobile web application that all you need is a browser on any device, and you can then run that application. So I guess it really depends on, excuse me, whether or not you need to access mobile device features like GPS and the camera and barcode scanning and signature capture and annotations on the screen using your finger to draw. If you need to do stuff like that, you have to go hybrid or native, and then obviously you might want to consider an app store deployment option. So anyway, that looks like that's all the questions I have for today. I just want to thank everybody so much for attending. Again, I hope you got value. I hope you take advantage of the free mobile assessment, and I'll pass it back to Allie to take us out.
All right. Thank you all again for attending today's webinar, Understanding the Key Pieces of Mobile App Development. You may now all disconnect.